Ashton couldn't understand what was going on with his mother. For weeks, she had been refusing to sleep in her bedroom. Whatever was going on was taking a toll on the old woman. That was why he decided to plant the camera in the first place. But when Ashton finally got to plant the camera, he witnessed something truly worrying. He couldn't let the staff at the nursing home get away with it. Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Judith Mayer always strived to be the best wife and mother she could possibly be. She and her husband owned a small home in Alberta. Through the years, they raised their children, Ashton and Bethany, to the best of their ability. They moved out far too soon for Judith's liking, but as the woman grew older, she remained close to her children while she lived with her husband, Alan, in the home they bought when they first got married. Ashton, her eldest child, was the apple of his mother's eye. He had always been a straight-A student, and after college, he married a wonderful woman. Her name was May, and Judith loved her like she was her own. Judith's life was perfect from the outside, but even more perfect on the inside. But when she was just 65 years old, the unexpected happened. Alan suddenly fell sick with a mysterious illness. For months, Judith, her son, and her daughter were in and out of the hospital visiting the old man. Judith was praying for a miracle, but things weren't looking good. Ashton was there to hold his mother's hand when the doctor delivered the heartbreaking news. He only has a few hours left. You are welcome to stay with him. That night, the small family sat around the old man holding hands and praying together until he took his last breath. Judith's perfect world now had a massive crack. For the first few months after Alan's devastating death, Judith lived with Ashton and May in their two-bedroom house. But before long, May received exciting news. They were expecting their first child. "You will need to use the second bedroom as a nursery," Judith said. "But where would you stay?" Ashton questioned. "We can get a bigger place, Mom." But Judith wasn't having it. She had a plan. You see, her plan was never to stay with her son for too long. She knew that he and May needed their space. She had done research in recent months. There is this wonderful nursing home just up the road. Some friends from church have moved in there. I want to go. Judith had made up her mind. Ashton didn't feel good about it, but he knew better than to go against his mother's wishes. They decided to check the place out. It was stunning from the outside with tall walls, gray paint, and a peaceful garden where Judith could read her books. As soon as Judith confirmed that this was where she wanted to stay, Ashton helped her move in. They packed all her things, and on the day he drove her to the nursing home, she seemed truly happy. In the first few days, Ashton called his mother daily, but then she mentioned trouble sleeping. He reassured her it was probably just part of adjusting. Still, he sensed hesitation in her voice. The next day, she didn't answer. He assumed she was busy, but after a week, with no response, he and May drove over to check on her. Everything seemed fine on the outside. The garden was beautiful and the staff were pleasant. But when they saw Judith, they were shocked. She looked exhausted and unwell, her hair unkempt, eyes dark and tired. Ashton knelt beside her and gently asked if she was okay. "I am so tired," she whispered as tears welled in her eyes. They tried to take her to her room, but Judith refused. "No, I will not sleep in that room." "I refuse," she said firmly. Ashton asked why, but she wouldn't say. He asked the staff if she could sleep elsewhere, but they said all beds were occupied. Judith urged them to leave, insisting she would be fine. Reluctantly, they left, but returned the next day. The same pattern repeated. Judith looked even worse. "You can take me to your house. I will sleep there," she finally said. That night, they brought her home. She collapsed onto the guest bed without eating or showering, completely drained. Later that night, Ashton shared his concerns with May. She listened carefully, then suggested installing a camera in Judith's room. Maybe things aren't as good as they seem in that nursing home. May offered to distract Judith while he installed it. "It's the only way to see what's going on behind closed doors." She said he couldn't believe it, but he was going to take her up on the offer. He ran out to the store and bought a camera the very next morning. Judith awoke just after 11 a.m., and when Ashton told her they were going back to the nursing home, he could see the disappointment on her face. But she didn't have to worry. Her son had a plan to help her out. Tears rolled down her cheeks as they pulled up in front of the building. Everything seemed fine. The nurses were friendly as they walked through the halls, but one of them was hiding something. Once they reached Judith's room, Ashton quickly ushered his mother and May into the hallway, pretending to get refreshments. He had to act fast. With adrenaline pumping, he pulled the small camera from his bag and discreetly placed it inside a fake pot plant. It had to remain hidden, but effective. Now that the camera was in place, he began inspecting the room more closely. Something about the atmosphere had always unsettled him, and he wondered if he'd ignored red flags. Then he noticed something unusual: the wallpaper. It had small, torn sections as though someone had tried to peel it away. Was it Judith or someone else? He felt a surge of anxiety. Eventually, concern got the better of him. He began pulling at the wallpaper, first gently, then more aggressively, until a section gave way. What he found stunned him. Behind the wallpaper was a small hole, no bigger than a dime, but large enough for someone to spy through. His heart pounded as he leaned forward and looked inside. It was dark, but he could make out flickering LED lights and the low hum of machinery. Something was definitely in the next room. His blood ran cold. What kind of facility had he placed his mother in? With May still occupied with Judith, Ashton had a bit more time to investigate. He decided to find where the hole led. Returning to the hallway, he looked around carefully. Directly across from Judith's room was a door-marked storage. It was slightly open. He didn't hesitate, making sure no one was watching. Ashton climbed through the narrow opening, slipping quietly inside. Once he was inside, Ashton quickly surveyed the room. It was dark and cluttered with boxes and crates, far too suspicious to be a simple storage space. He knew he had stumbled onto something big, and he was determined to find out what. He was doing this for his mother. She needed to be safe. As he searched, something caught his attention. An old computer in the corner covered in dust and cobwebs. Curious, he powered it on. The screen flickered to life, revealing a list of files. He scrolled through them, heart pounding. The files referenced vague incidents involving patient mistreatment. One document described a nurse being disciplined for harming a patient, though her name was redacted. It was clear someone was covering things up. He carefully exited the room the way he came in through the window and crept back into the hallway. A woman's voice echoed in the room. "Okay, let's get this over with," she muttered. Ashton peeked over the edge of the bed. One of the nurses had entered, but she was carrying something horrifying. A box full of sharp, jagged rocks. She calmly lifted the mattress and began placing the rocks underneath. Ashton's blood ran cold. He stared in shock, barely breathing. Why would anyone do this? What was her intention? He wanted to confront her immediately, but he knew he needed proof. He stayed hidden, eyes locked on her every move. His mother had been suffering night after night, and now he understood why. Ashton knew he had to act. First, he needed to protect his mother. Then, he would confront the nursing home with the evidence he had just captured. What he'd witnessed wasn't just unprofessional, it was criminal. The nurse had deliberately ensured Judith would be in pain. Ashton was furious. He had paid a fortune for this facility, only to watch his mother suffer. Enough was enough. Then the nurse muttered something that gave it all away. "This lady thinks she can replace Mr. Bennett. I won't let her." That's when Ashton understood Judith was being punished simply for occupying the room once used by someone else. The nurse harbored a personal vendetta. Rage built up inside him. He could no longer stay silent. Ashton emerged from his hiding place and confronted the nurse. She was visibly startled. Stammering, she tried to explain, but her words faltered. Ashton didn't let up. "You were just what? Trying to injure an elderly woman?" he demanded. The nurse's panic was obvious. Her excuse fell apart instantly under the weight of the truth. Knowing they had no time to waste, Ashton and May moved quickly. May kept watch while Ashton gathered his mother's belongings and gently helped her up. Judith was weak, her body trembling with exhaustion and fear. "We're getting you out of here," Ashton whispered. They moved swiftly down the hallway, every step filled with urgency. Ashton expected the nurse to appear at any moment, but they made it to the exit without interference. As they stepped outside, the cool air was a relief. Judith was finally out of harm's way, and Ashton was more determined than ever to hold those responsible accountable. Later, they sat down with Judith. Her voice was weak, but steady as she described everything. The restless nights, the pain, the psychological torment. Hearing it firsthand broke Ashton's heart. But the hidden camera had done its job. They now had solid evidence. The time had come to act. Ashton picked up the phone and dialed 911. The nurse's expression when he revealed the footage had been captured was one of shock. It was over. Police and medical personnel arrived quickly. The nurse was confronted by both the police and the nursing home administrators. Judith, meanwhile, was taken to the hospital for evaluation. Thankfully, her condition was not permanent. After several days of rest and treatment for severe exhaustion, Judith was recovering well. Then came an unexpected twist. Judith insisted on returning to the nursing home. They fired her. "I will be fine," she said with quiet confidence. Ashton reluctantly agreed. And surprisingly, things changed for the better. With the toxic staff member gone, Judith began to flourish. Her smile returned and the spark in her eyes came back. Ashton still couldn't believe what had happened, but he was relieved. He had done what any loving son would do: fight for the truth, protect his mother, and ensure she could live in peace. In the end, she was okay.